Welcome to our Indonesia Project's COVID-19 webinar series. My name is Arianto Patundru and I'm hosting this program with Nur Kamal Mulyani and Ruth Niki Julu. We acknowledge the first Australians and pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging. We are grateful for the support from the Australian National University and the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. We have run this series for about 1 year now. We have invited observers, academics, private sectors, NGO representatives, as well as policymakers to discuss the many aspects of COVID-19. But we have not yet talked to those really impacted by the virus itself. So today, we are grateful to have two special guests, and they are COVID-19 survivors. Andree Surianta is a PhD student from ANU who contracted the virus in Jakarta last September. And his experience prompted him to do some research on vaccine distribution in Indonesia. And Dian Fatwa, she is formerly the head of Southeast Asia Business Development at ABC, and now an expert staff at the People's Consultative Assembly, or MPR, in Indonesia. She also got the virus in October 2020, and she will share her experience with us, including some policy recommendations. And as usual, we will have a Q&A session after the talks. But if you want, you can also write your question anytime on the Q&A box, not on the chat box, and we will attend to them in the Q&A session. Of course, you can raise your hands also, and then we will call you after the session. Please also kindly fill a little polling when it appears on your screen, because we need this to improve our series. So let me welcome Andree and Mbak Dian. And first, I'd like to raise a question to Andree, maybe. Andree, when and how did you find out that you had COVID-19? Can you tell us the story?
I guess as you already briefly mentioned, so I basically was diagnosed with COVID-19 when I did a PCR swab test on 5th September, right? So it was last year, towards the end of last year. And basically, I did an independent swab test. So yeah, I didn't go to the Puskesmas one. So I went to the paid one. And that was because I was having fever. And just before that, actually, like I wasn't alone in the household that got the COVID-19. So we were like a family cluster. Out of the 5-member household, 3 of us got it. And the first one who got it was actually already having some kind of like sore throat for a week. But at that point, there was no suspicion as COVID-19. We actually went to the doctor, and doctor didn't ask us to do a swab. Now, I don't know, maybe at that time it wasn't a big thing yet. So, but then after that, another family member lost a sense of smell. And that's a very hallmark COVID symptoms, right? So because of that, we all went for a swab. And that's when I find out.
When you say we, so your parents, your...
Yes, yes. So my parents, my wife, my sibling, yeah, we all went together. It was a drive-through test. And then it's basically we found out 3 of us got it and 2 didn't, you know. So it is, the family cluster thing is real, basically.
Right. And what were the symptoms again?
I was having fever, but my parents was having, one had fever, the other lost the sense of smell. You know, so they call it anosmia. You know, so basically cannot smell minyak kayu putih, you know, those eucalyptus, very strong smell, you cannot even smell it. I also had that, but like a week after that, you know, so because my symptom, I think, starts later, right? So.
Right. And that hospital, how far is it from your, and is it easy to access?
When I did the swab test, it was quite easy to access. I mean, you have to drive. I mean, you cannot
Right.
walk, not like in the camera,
Right.
you know. So, but basically, it was an online booking. All the swab test is done online. We booked it like the night before because the
Right.
moment we found out someone got my parent got anosmia, that's a hallmark sign. So we just booked it that night, made an online payment, and then the next day we went like 8 o'clock in the morning to do the drive-through test. So it was, and there was no queue whatsoever.
Right.
It was pretty fast. Of course, it's the paid option. Yeah, it's not the Puskesmas free option.
Right. Okay. But Dian, what about you? When did you learn that you had contracted the virus?
Oh, well, it's I was kind of I had that feeling that I might get the virus, but I was in denial, and because I felt that I already put all the requirement, such as that I have to put mask when I met people, and also I always wash my hand, but I felt but I knew that I might get it sooner or later because it's pandemic, and giving that the government didn't put that measurement such as a lockdown. That is actually quite worrying for me, because that is really the opportunity for the virus to spread. So so I got the feeling that I might get, because I felt I had a similar symptom. I got sore throat, and also kind of really like feverish, but not really with the I feel really like the temperature with the temperature. So I thought, oh well, maybe I just feel tired, or I got flu. So I took Panadol, and I goggle with salt, and also with some of stuff. It was okay for 1 week, and second week I still got the sore throat. The third week was I got diarrhea. So that was the for me, this is something that I need to get checked. When I put appointment, unfortunately, that was I put an appointment. It was drive-through, and when I arrived, it was already closed. So I have to come back again, and I have to make another appointment. But unfortunately, the apps, actually, it was there was a technical problem, so I wasn't able to get an appointment for PCR. So I had to ring a few of my colleagues on the department, so I could get the PCR test so very quick, because I was quite worried, given that many of people that I know, it's at the beginning, it's people that I know, then my friends, then people that I really know well. They got the facts. They got the virus. So I started worried. I might get it. So finally, I got from Puskesmas. Then I got a test. Then the rest is the history. Is I got the result was positive. I was quite worried, actually, at the beginning. I was when I left home. I felt really like
Yeah, I remember reading in your Facebook page, but Dian, and when you got this virus, and you said you were not really surprised that you got it. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, because it's pandemic. Because it's pandemic, I knew that it will come to me sooner or later. It's like flooding. When you got flooding, you cannot run away. You cannot run away because it would hit you. It would hit your house, and it's matter of time. And giving the government, it didn't put a draconian measurement. That is really quite worrying. If I look at Australia, for instance, they really put draconian policy to protect the border. So that is my feeling that would work at that time. And I was quite worried, but I don't have choice. I don't have choice because I live here. So my choice, and I try to protect myself by not by to be careful, washing my hand, put mask, and also choose where is the place to meet people, not at the not at the room where is aircon. It's always outdoor. But still,
Right.
I got it. So it's very hard. Uh, and right now, when I met people, almost everyone get it. So like it's or my brother or my sister. So I don't think that I met people that they haven't got the virus. It's very rare. So almost most people in Jakarta right now, almost they contracted by the virus.
Right. And also, I understand that you had experienced other health issues before. You're a cancer survivor also. But how did the COVID-19 compare with the other diseases that you had in the past?
Incredible, painful, a headache. Incredible. I had malaria. I had a dengue fever. I got typhoid before. I got I lost my balance when I was in Cambodia. Then I had to be evacuated to Bangkok. So I had so many disease that I experienced that the sickness, but the pain, the headache, incredible. So there is nothing like I got malaria. That was so the headache so heavy, but this one unbelievable. I wasn't even. I put Panadol. I put a painkiller. It didn't help.
So this was the worst you have ever experienced.
It was the worst one. I was actually try to lying down, try to put my pillow, try to put everything, try to reduce and when I call because my cousin is medical doctors, so they cannot do anything. They just put a painkiller, and also is I was really scared if I go to medical doctor, I might also spread the virus. So it was really hard. I want to protect myself. I would like to relieve my pain, but also at the same time, I don't want to spread the virus that would probably kill people as well. Because many cases that we survive as from the virus, but when we spread the virus, other people might not make it. So this is my worry because everyone has a different immunity. So this is that was my concern. So it was really hard. That was so painful, the headache. So I knew that that's why I always say to everyone, please, please stop with me, not to you. Please put your mask and always wash your hand. The thing is, people, when we meet the people and we feel comfortable, we tend to feel really that because he's my friend, he's my friend, or she's my brother, then we lose the protection. We don't put the mask. So that is my concern. That is my worry. I had a similar experience when I felt comfortable meeting my friends, was meeting my family. We start eating. Then we took off our mask. Then we forgot to put it back.
Right.
That is the challenge because we got fatigued too long that we keep ourselves in our room, in our home, and it's longing to meet people, to share experience, to hug. Previously, when hugging or to show the affection, that was something that we value. But right now, when we don't hug, it's actually something that we can save people. So that is that we see that the shifting. Then people, I don't want to hug you because I want to protect you, because both of us, we have the chance to spread the virus. So for me, that was very interesting to see that. Many also elderly people also starting realizing that they are not able to hug their children or their old friends. So it's interesting. Is I lose my friends and also many people. So when I said, oh, Mr. Blah and blah just passed away this morning, and it was just automatically, and suddenly we want to hug, and then just a few minutes right on, then we just, oh no, we can't hug. So that is really like we have to, oh no, I'm sorry that we cannot hug anymore. So that feeling that sorry, and it's so we have to, we have to look at our eyes that we share the sorrow. So it's very interesting, the shifting that we don't hug, we don't shake hands because protect everyone.
I'll go to Andree, but before that, there is an interesting question by Dian from Pak Matthew asking, what are the after effects now that you no longer have COVID, hopefully, but do you still have after effect that still affect you at this moment?
I'm not able to finish a sentence. Yeah, so suddenly I got stuck. I don't know what to say.
Like blank.
Just blank, and so it's apology if I'm not able to finish my sentence.
And you think that was because because COVID, one of the effects? Okay.
Yeah, and in January, actually, I give a training in Surabaya, and I knew that this is a part of my difficulty, but I explained to the committee that this is my difficulty, and but the committee even asked me, well, don't worry, put the slide and then share your experience, and people are more aware about the COVID, because right now it was very, very hard that people understand the danger of the virus. And also I'm forgetful. It's not only just my age, but also, for instance, I have to ask people, who is actually the guy who ran presidential election, the opposed of Jokowi. I know it's Prabowo, but I don't remember. I don't remember his name. And even that, I have to mention about the name of the cake, and when I arrive at home, I still mix between my English and Bahasa Indonesia. So I speak with my assistant at home, sometimes in English. So my assistant, of course, they don't speak English, so they just look at me, and because they don't understand why suddenly I speak English with her. So so I was quite that I like misplaced the context. I speak English with the people that I know that they don't understand English, and I speak other language, other dialect with the people. And the people are, why do you speak Japanese with me? Why do you speak Sundanese? Then I realized that actually that person, they don't understand Japanese, or they don't understand English, or they don't understand Sundanese. So that kind of really the first few weeks I was at home, so just discharged from the hospital. But gradually I can put the context. So I understand, okay, with that person, I cannot speak English. With that person, I have to speak Bahasa Indonesia or speaking in dialect. So that is bad. But to finish the sentence, this is my difficulty. And also, no, sorry, I cannot finish.
Okay, Mbak Dian, thanks. Over to you, Andree. Can you tell us about, Mbak Dian said that, the level of pain was so unbearable, even compared to her other experience with other diseases. What is it with you?
Yeah.
Is it really? Oh, you can tell us.
For me, yeah, I mean, it is basically the worst experience of hospitalization. Like I've only been hospitalized, a few times, so it hasn't been a lot, a lot of experience, not like Mbak Dian. But I've had dengue fever, and even that I was, when I had dengue, it was already almost in a critical stage, but it still doesn't feel as bad as COVID.
Okay.
But the bad thing about COVID is that it's such a elusive disease. It progresses quite slowly. It really catches you off guard. Like the first week, I wasn't in the hospital actually because I thought I only had fever. There was no coughing. I was breathing okay. So I decided to stay home. My parents, because of high risk, we put them to hospital right away. Right. So and at that point, actually, it's also not so easy to find hospital. I think we have to call like 7 hospitals before we get a spot for my parents. Right? And there's only the last 2 spots. I cannot get in anyway. So I decided to stay home for a whole week, self-isolate. But as the week progresses, things gets worse. I think around the 5th day, I wasn't able to sleep lying down because I just keep coughing. And whenever I lie down, like your lungs seems want to push out something. That's the feeling. And so when you're coughing, then you don't sleep very well. You get weaker. So that's when I decided, I go to hospital. And I think so that was a week then, basically, when I went to hospital. And the second day in the hospital, the doctor decided to put an oxygen mask on me because I wasn't, I was breathing okay during the daytime, but nighttime was pretty bad, like with a cough. And as I said, like I cannot sleep lying down. I have to sleep sitting up, because whenever I lie down, it's just non-stop cough.
Can you do that, sleeping while standing up?
Oh, well, no, sitting up. So I'm in the hospital bed. Because hospital bed, you can do like 75 degrees, right? Yeah. So it wasn't countable. It was really, really uncomfortable. And it was when you had that cough that you cannot stop,
right?
It really, it's like everything is a blur, right?
And what about now, Andree? Do you have after effects?
I think, well, when I was discharged from the hospital for the first month, so like I was in hospital for 12 days. So after discharge for a whole month, yes, there was some lingering effects. I think for my parents, they and me also, our sense of smell is just a bit funny. Like we smell things that are not there, so it's like phantom smells, and we don't smell things that smell very strong, and it's like, forgive me for saying this, like for example, my baby's poo, I cannot smell it, and that's like, wow. It's a really strong smell, right? So I was changing diaper happily, basically. Okay. So that lasted for my parents, it was a bit longer. I think it lasted for about like 2-3 months. The sense of taste also changes, and we are easily fatigued, like we got tired very easily. Right. And brain fog, we call it when like Mbak Dian cannot finish a sentence, or you had a thought and suddenly it just blank. It does happen, but we gradually adjust to it, I guess.
So you just mentioned your baby. How did you handle, at that time you're having a baby and then you have, your health COVID condition? Yeah.
Well, that was actually, so when I had COVID, my wife was heavily pregnant, right? So the baby hasn't arrived yet, which is, in a way, it's luck. Luck would have it. It's fortunate, right. But also it made me very stressed in the hospital because I wasn't able to take care of my wife, right? So it was like daily calls, just trying to see if and she's just I mean, as I said, there's only 2 people in the household that didn't get it. So it was just right. her and my sister who was just like trying to take care of everything. Right. And they were also isolated because they're not allowed to go out as a household of a suspect. Right. You're quarantined for 14 days, right? So that was a little bit of stress.
Okay. All right. Because this is an interactive session, I will allow people to ask questions. I see a hand raised from Peter Macaulay. Can we invite Peter to comment or ask question? Peter, are you there?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, Pak. Silakan.
Okay, look, I have a question that follows from things that both Andree and Dian have said. And I should just explain that from what they've said and our conversation, there seems to be a quite marked difference between the way Australia and rich countries have handled the COVID crisis, and maybe Indonesia and other developing countries. There is a hypothesis that is floating around that in a sense, developing countries in Asia and perhaps elsewhere as well, of course, developing countries have really decided to live through the problem. Whereas rich countries such as Australia have really taken an extreme approach of saying, we are going to close the door. There will be no COVID in our country, or if there is any sign, we will stamp on it. Whereas developing countries, partly perhaps because they have no choice, have decided to try to live with it, live through the crisis, deal with it day to day, and perhaps hopefully, of course, come out at the other end. Could you comment on this, please? Andree, you mentioned that the doctor, when you first saw a doctor, or you seemed to say that the doctor was a bit casual about, I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but if I heard you correctly, you're talking about September 2020, not September 2019. So September 2020, doctors should be alert by then. So if the doctor is not alert, my question really is, what does this tell us? It seems to be consistent with the hypothesis that Indonesia has, in some sense, tried to decide to live with it. And to Dian, you did say that, I'm not sure, perhaps it was just a slip of the tongue, but you did say that you thought most people had it in Jakarta.
Yep.
So this is my question really to both of you. Do you agree with this hypothesis that Indonesia seems to have decided to live with it? And also then perhaps this would imply that there must be already a good deal of herd immunity in Indonesia, which is quite important. It's a very important medical fact. Anyway, that's my question. Is this characterization correct? What is your feeling about this? Has Indonesia tried to live with it? And what does this tell us about herd immunity? Those are my questions. Thank you. Terima kasih. Terima kasih sebelumnya.
Thank you, Pak Peter. Who wants to go first? Maybe Andree?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can go first. So yeah, I mean, considering the doctors, being casual and things like that. To be honest with you, I think this is such a new disease, right? And 6 months experience actually doesn't prepare any doctors very well to face it. Just when I was hospitalized, I was in the same hospital with my parents, but we're in different wards, so we're taken care of by different doctors, right? And even the two doctors in the same hospital has different approaches, right? And even in my parents' ward, the other patients receive different care also, right? And it's just like they really look at this all on a case-to-case basis, because COVID-19 is actually not it's just such a broad spectrum illness. It affects so many different things that each patient has to be looked at differently, right? So I think that's one thing. I wouldn't say that doctors being casual, but it's just that there's just so many unknowns, and even until now. And when I was discharged from the hospital, I was actually still tested positive. But at that point, the guideline from WHO also just changed, right? Previously, it was 2 negative tests, then you can only then you can be released. But then they found out that people take like a month or even 2 to have 2 consecutive negative tests. It just takes so long to clear the virus. So then they changed that advisory to, as long as you have no symptoms, 10 days isolation, then you can be discharged, right? And then the medical will add a little bit of kind of like safeguard and say the CT value. We have what the PCR test called the cycle threshold value. If the cycle threshold value is high, means the viral load, it's associated with low viral load. Then it's safer to release a positive patient. So those are very developing. So, and in terms of living with the virus, I think, yes, mostly because the developing countries have no choice. It's very difficult. We have in Jakarta so dense, and it's difficult to really just close down everything. We have very porous borders with other province. It's not like Australia where state can just close each other off. Right? It's not possible to do in Indonesia, or at least it will take a lot of political infighting. And but to be honest with you, my opinion is we probably cannot keep COVID-19 at bay forever. So the Australian approach seems to be successful, yes, but if you need connection with other countries or whatever, you know, to get your economy going, you cannot keep them up. You cannot keep the virus up forever. So there's a point where you just have to accept the risk of this and try to minimize it instead of zero risk and close the border. We don't want this at all. I do not think that's realistic, but that's just my personal opinion.
Right. So. But Dian, any comment?
Yeah, we have to look at the level or uncertainty is very high with the COVID, and also the level of understandable about what the hell is COVID among the health workers is also different in each province and each province, and also in each hospital. I'll give you an example. I was hospitalized in one of the best for me. I felt really like I was so lucky that I was hospitalized. It's really like with the international standard that because I've been in many hospitals. I was hospitalized in Australia, in Japan, and also in Bangkok, and also in Cambodia. And I was surprised actually when I got a service is kind of like international standard, and how the level of how the nurse tried to look after me. That was amazing. But also I heard the story then, for instance, in other city when even the doctor was so scared to see the patient because they don't have equipment. They don't have equipment to. They're scared to if they got contracted by the virus. My cousin, like 4 of my cousins live in Surabaya and work for coronavirus. So they use a CCTV. So when the patient need to talk with the doctor, so the doctor just talk to them and give the instruction what should to be done. But when I was in Jakarta, I asked, why don't you use a CCTV so you are actually less contracted by the virus, even when they try to put the needle and the blood was everywhere, and the nurse was they don't look scared, and they just look after me like I don't have a disease. It's just really like their own sister. And I was so lucky. So the level of medical service are obviously different, and also uncertainty is quite high. So I guess country official must become comfortable planning in the uncertainty, developing scenarios, and aligning a set of standard of assumption, because so they have to they need to have a plan A, plan B, plan C. But unfortunately, this is something new, so everyone was overwhelming. When I got virus and I was hospitalized, and I knew that they become comfortable how to handle. The medical doctor is more ready to explain what's going on. So I went to 2 hospitals. first when I got positive, then I got negative. I have to move to another hospital. Then I met more experienced a medical doctor. So they explained to me, well, I was actually already got COVID for the second time. When they look at the result of the X-ray, then they saw me my lung, and you actually already have the 2 scars, and it was amazing that you able to breathe normally. I don't have I had problem breathing for probably about 5 weeks, but not really severe. But my problem is only in my in my memory. But so they give me some medication. So I was the doctor very explained to me. They give me the map. So it's kind of really like in the class, like you went to to the university. So they give me many explanation why it's happened, why I had why it's attacking my memory, why other people got it in a they lose that sense of smell. But for me, I got even more strong taste. So I taste everything become more salty, become more sweet right now compared to other people. Like everyone feel when they eat the dish, and oh, it's normal, but for me it's just too salty. So it's, even the tea that they serve, I felt that was too sweet for me, but other people that was for them was normal. So I become the opposite side of other people. When other people they lose this the smell, so they lose the taste. I got the opposite side even until now. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Mbak Dian. So you mentioned that for your own experience, you were lucky to get a very high standard health service. But is it a reflection of public health services in Indonesia in general? But because I know you travel a lot also in Indonesia. So what do you think about the general public service in Indonesia, general situation? Is it sufficient to face this kind of pandemic, or do you think they are really lacking in some aspects, or maybe regional difficulties and things like that? What do you think about Dian, and maybe later Andree?
I just come back from North Maluku, and also I met the people. Then I heard that they got the virus, and they had to go to ICU and put a ventilator. She explained to me that the doctor is like undermine the symptom. Oh well, it's it's okay. You don't need to go to the hospital, because right now the capacity of the hospital is probably overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
they have to be they have to decide which one need to be hospitalized and which one not. So I'm sure most of the medical staff or medical worker right now is under moral dilemma when they have to put which one need to get ventilator, which one not. I shared that feeling, and I felt empathic with the people who didn't get the ventilator, even though that they need it. And the number of ventilator right now is actually become scarce. It's very rare to find ventilator actually not using. Everyone need ventilator. So when medical workers feel overwhelmed, and also they are in a moral dilemma, which one need to put ventilator, because they need to know which one need to be safe first. Someone who already over 60, someone over 40, or someone still young. This is something that we need to put in account, that if we put ourselves in their shoes, it must be it must be very difficult for them with the stress that they already taken. Most of medical staff, I knew they become. I met some of my friends. They are medical doctors. They become like a different person that I know. Become like not more like I don't know if I couldn't find any word. It's like robot. I cannot talk normal because they are under stress, overwhelmed, and easy to get become cranky. Not just cranky. It's just really everything is not right because they only slept for 3-4 hours. 3-4 hours. So it's I feel really sorry. So it's the way that we have to do it is we have to protect ourselves, not to put more stress to the medical staff, because what we are doing actually, we if we don't put the mask, actually we put the burden to the medical staff. So when the medical staff overwhelmed, then they cannot save us too. I guess people also become fatigued. Too long they stay at home. Too long they are not able to see their sibling, their family, their friends. So they don't care anymore. I feel myself also when I met the people that I feel really comfortable. Suddenly I lose. I don't want to put my mask anymore. Then I realized that, oh, well, I will put risk for other people or for me as well. So I have to remind myself that we are actually not in a safe place right now. Everywhere, wherever you go, you are still someone put other people in danger, or you put your face in danger as well. But it doesn't mean that I cannot move anywhere. So since January, I've been traveling many times to many places, and I got tests, and I'm still negative. Thanks God. I traveled to Ternate, I traveled to Makassar, I traveled to Surabaya, but I always put my mask, and I always become police to other people. Hello, put your mask. And hello, we are in the aircon room. Probably it's safe for everyone if we meet outside. And I could see people in Surabaya, in Java. People there is a progress. They put masks compared in January or in February. When I went there, they are not very disciplined, so they put the mask on the neck, so it's really like necklace. But when last week I was there, so people put the mask out. They consistently, they don't want to take off, which is actually very encouraging. But in the remote area, if there is a strong measurement, for instance, there is a police, they will put they will stop the car or motorbike if they don't have a mask. So that is actually help to increase the awareness. So it has to be mix a draconian the draconian policy. Otherwise, it's very hard to put the policy in place, given the understanding people are still skepticism. I met old people in Halmahera, in remote area. He really wanted to hug me, and I told him, well, I just arrived from Jakarta. It's dangerous for you to hug me. I really want to hug you. No, come on. This is from this is just a new. This is from the news. I know you will be safe. You are nice girl. I could see you are clean, and I have to give the understanding. No, it's dangerous. No, I don't want to be close to you because I put you at risk. So even that was 2 weeks ago, still people in the remote area still believe this is something from the news, that COVID is just only in Jakarta, only in Java. So the level of awareness still, that is actually a challenge. So this is probably a challenge for the government to put the public communication in place, because some people also get fatigue of the message as well.
Yeah, just on the behavior of or reactions from the medical practitioners. Before I go to Andree, back to Andree, there is a related question from Eliza Hunt about the response from medical practitioners. It's a long question, so maybe I will just invite Eliza to ask her question. Eliza?
Thanks, Mas Acho. Thank you very much for a really interesting talk, Bu Dian and Mas Andree. I just wanted to follow up a little bit on Peter's comment, and just reflecting on what you're talking about in terms of your lived experience of the symptoms being incredibly severe compared to, particularly you, Bu Dian, talking about your own experience of a series of other ailments that you've had. I'm just wondering, in terms of Indonesia has been experiencing for some time, obviously, a whole series of health type hazards. So, I mean, you've got TB, you've got malaria at lower levels, HIV, you've also got other endemic levels of dengue, Hep. There's a whole series of things that are going on for Indonesia at the individual practitioner, but also the state health apparatus level. I'm just wondering, in terms of what Peter was saying about the reactions of individual doctors around your own experiences, I'm wondering whether that might be contextualized by the fact that, you know, they have experienced a whole number of hazards, endemic diseases that they've had to deal with, probably shortages of personnel, equipment, you know, hospital beds, etc., being something that might have been encountered in the past. So, you know, it's kind of that attitude. I'm wondering if you might have experienced that, you know, in terms of your own experience. It's all good and well for many of us to sit back and go, well, and like it's good to say that, you know, well, things should be done in a certain way, but the lived experience is such that there are such a number of hazards that are being juggled. I'm wondering, does that come into your thinking about and your experience of your own illnesses?
Thanks, Eliza. Maybe Andree first.
I think the biggest thing that I can think of is just that we don't have a really big healthcare capacity, right? I think everybody realizes that, and basically what the medical practitioners are doing is just trying to do with what they have, right? And yes, we've dealt with many health hazards, and this kind of shortage is not new. So there are, so I mean, I guess there's two sides of it. Like the positive side is that we tend to be a bit more calm in facing this, you know, but that calm also kind of like brings the lack of sense of crisis in the other side. Right, so we don't have the sense of crisis because we're so used to not having enough healthcare capacity. So I think we need to boost up our healthcare capacity no matter what, right? Like there's no reason that we have to always make do with less. We should have more. That's my opinion. And I think the government is doing a lot of things in boosting up the infrastructure side, but we are so lacking in the human resources side. And I think that takes a longer term approach, and we can't keep doing things this way. We need to change in terms of that, trying to boost up the healthcare capacity in this country. And the government is looking into that, but it's a really long, tough process. Like the pharmaceutical industry need to be beefed up, the healthcare services need to be beefed up, the human resources need to be increased, and it's just this pandemic really triggers all that at the same time, you know.
Right. Yeah, but relating this to Mbak Dian's point, so I get a sense that even if we have competent healthcare professional, and even if we can build a better public health system, but if the people are stubborn, they don't really respect, physical distancing, 3Ms, what you call it. So there are two problems that in this context of COVID, right? Not really sophisticated healthcare system, but also the attitude of the people, So how do we deal with this? What do you think about Dian?
Yeah, it's I could see there is a lack of public communication from the government side to explain about the COVID-19 and also the when there is the public communication, it didn't work, so they tried to get whatever available on the internet, and the level of literacy in Indonesia is very poor. So they tends to believe what they got from social media, and of course in the social media, not all the information is actually correct. So this is the level that the government need to improve, and at the moment, there is two sides in terms of the policy. First, facing the uncertainty, they need to have end-to-end planning, not to just one step planning and then planning for the next step. Because that it has to be parallel, and also at the same time they have to prepare also the public communication. When the public communication, even though they have a good planning, but it doesn't put in the public, still the public doesn't understand what is actually in the mind of in the government. The other thing is also coordination. Coordination between the central government, also in the provincial government, and also in the district level. So everyone has a different take for how to handle. So that's make the public also confused whether they could go or not, or whether they just stay at home. But even if they stay at home, they feel fatigue. This is the experience people. Yeah, even my parents at my mom at home, then she just want to go because she feel bored at home. I'm quite happy with Australia at the moment because I could see on Facebook and also from the news they don't put masks anymore. So that is actually the public communication works, and even though that I know that was quite tough for government point of view. So how to face the criticism, the draconian policy, but it works. But here and here in Indonesia, it seems that people want to get acceptance, what their policy actually accepted by the public. So, but then when they are not ready for the criticism, so they try to a balancing between acceptance by the public or otherwise they receive the backlash. But the impact is actually right now it's endless, like one step planning. It's we haven't finished, then it appears with the new variant B117 with the vaccine hasn't been rolled out in even though even in the remote area, even in the big city hasn't been finished to roll out. Still we have a problem with the understanding of what is actually COVID. So that is the challenge in terms of public communication. And also we have to understand as well, when it's too much information, it's made up people also become fatigued. So this they need to put a strategy how they feel really like they have understanding. At the same time, also they accept the policy from the government. So I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, Mbak Dian. You mentioned already about vaccination. That is a good segue to the next issue that I would like to discuss. But before that, I still have one question related to people's perception to this COVID-19. I have heard anecdotes about people avoiding tests because they are not ready for the results, or they are afraid to face the community if they are seen as a COVID-19 patient. Is this stigma real in the community? Maybe Andree, you have observation about this?
The stigma on the
Yeah,
patients.
like, I have a family member myself who doesn't want to even to get tested because she said, what if I got it? And then I cannot face people, things like that. So do you think this is real?
It's real. It is real. It is so on what that's why that's the irony of this new disease. Like Mbak Dian says, a lot of people don't believe this, but the other side of people, a lot of people don't want to be found out to got it, right? And just from my own experience, when we were in the hospital, right, there were actually a rumor in our neighborhood because someone else also got COVID. And it was actually a security guard in our area. And the rumor was that he got it from us, but we were in the hospital for already like a week or so, and we never met him. So there's just no way he could have gotten from us, right? But just because we were the first patient in our neighborhood, the first known patient, because we actually reported, we followed the procedure and we reported to the RT. And that makes us sort of like patient zero, which I don't believe that we are patient zero, to be honest. Because
but did you feel the pressure if you see your neighbors, or do you feel like people are judging you, or this is the guy who is going to spread the virus to us?
Well, it was certainly like when I was isolated, self-isolate myself at home, right? They actually disinfect our house. So that's the procedure in our neighborhood. If you reported that you have a patient, then they have to disinfect your house, right? And they come and disinfect the house. There's a whole bunch of people standing in front of our house just looking, it's like, ooh, what's going on? Oh, this house has COVID and things like that, So I mean, we're known in the neighborhood. We have patients, here, and I think, of course, progressively things gets better as people start forgetting that COVID. But for the first month, that after we were out from the hospital, I noticed that there's a security guard always sort of like coming to my house, probably like checking on us. But I mean, I didn't ask him, but we didn't have that before. Now suddenly we have that every day at around like lunchtime. So I'm like, are you trying to watch out for us? So that the stigma is real. The stigma is real, and I've had people who says, I've had this. When you have fever, you have coughing, I would tell them just go swab. But then like, but what if I got it? It's like, what should I do? And a lot, aside from stigma, there's also this unknown. What should I do after I found out? It's really,
so that's the communication issue again. Like
exactly,
said.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular experience, Dian, in this context?
Yeah, it's true. It's real. But I decided to be open at the beginning. When I got the virus, or I just when the results came up, and I shared it only to the 3 people that I have to get a hospital. Just in half an hour, I received many phone calls that tried to help me to get the best medical service, which is actually quite heartwarming for me. That many people actually care with me. So, but when I explained to the people at home, the driver ran away. The assistant at home told the assistant ran away. So when I left home, actually the house is actually empty. Everyone's so scared. I was thinking, how about if I die when I got to hospital? I didn't have chance to say goodbye to the people. So that was lingering in my mind. Actually I had to be prepared to die. Many stories that they never had chance to say goodbye, and even in the hospital we have to die alone. That is something psychologically is so scary when you receive that news. It was really, oh my God, I might die tomorrow. I might die tonight.
It's like death sentence.
Yeah, I might die in 2 hours. So I always like update to or only a few people. Well, look, this is my saturation oxygen. So it's just really like I have the chance to say goodbye. So I give a note to other people if something happened to me. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So every morning there's a few people call me just to get update and just to get sense of whether I'm still alive. This is one of the reasons why people are why people are in denial first, and the second, the stigma is actually they might lose a job. They might also people are in the neighborhood. They don't want to see them.
Right.
I give you the example in Surabaya. I don't know whether you remember that the one of the lady in actually throwing poo to the head worker staff. That was for me. That is actually wow. That is the level of embarrassment or the level of denial is so strong. My cousin in Malang, she specializes on also look after the COVID. She got threatened by the local member of parliament that when the member of his family got fever and actually COVID, he asked to my cousin not to mention, not to put the uh, not to put her at the house, not to put her at the hospital. And my cousin, well, look, your wife is COVID. We need to isolate her, otherwise it will spread to you. But it was hard because she was under pressure. She had he is actually very well-known well-known leader in the community and also member of parliament. So it was very hard for her, but she actually stick with her decision. No, you cannot. We have to put your wife at the hospital, and otherwise, how about if your wife pass away tomorrow because we are not able to give a proper treatment to your wife? Okay, you can take my wife, but please don't tell anyone. So yeah, it's real. This is one of the challenges for the government. That is COVID is we have to be careful with uh, so it's COVID is not embarrassment.
Right.
Is when you got COVID, it's okay. Medical doctor, medical workers are getting comfortable, getting more skillful to treat the patients. So we don't need to worry, and if we are not careful, um, we might sorry.
So they need to improve on their communication strategy, yeah, but
Yeah.
right. Okay, let us hear a little bit about. I understand Andree was doing some research on vaccine distribution in Indonesia. Maybe thanks to his experience, he was curious to know how the handling of vaccination in Indonesia will be effective, or maybe have some challenges. So, Andree, can you tell us briefly about your research?
Yeah, thank you, Pacho. Yeah, and if you can put up the, yeah, so thank you for the, basically, yeah, because part of that, I just want to take a little bit from Dian's experience, also an experience that loneliness is a really big thing when you're being isolated in the hospital. And I try to keep my mind active because this is so much uncertainty. So I try to find as much information as possible about COVID-19. So I start reading things, I start reading about COVID and things like that. And so that got me, I noticed what we've been talking about, that there's this lack of public understanding of this illness. I mean, it's new in itself, right? So it's hard to understand. It's very complex. It's really hard to get your head around this whole thing. And even when vaccines can come in, it's even more complicated, right? So that kind of, since there's this lack of public communication or public understanding, I thought, I think I should contribute to this, like if I can understand a little bit more about this, I should share my understanding to others and probably help highlight some points here and there. And especially since vaccination now is sort of like the big solution that we're all looking at. It shouldn't be the only solution, but it is a critical component of pandemic control. So that's when I started looking at things, and my research is actually a lot of it is just fact checking. It's nothing very fancy, but I'm just checking the facts that the government says that we're going to do this, we can do this in this, how long, and I start checking that. So these are just a few articles that I've written. It's like the top left. The top articles are basically published in the Conversation, republished at Kompas. So that's in Indonesian language. I decided to write it in Indonesian language because this is for Indonesian audience. But the Crawford School has been kind enough to run the translated version, and that's the bottom two. So if you're interested, this can be shared. There's actually a link, so you can read the article. So for the first article, I was talking about the vaccination is definitely important, but it doesn't replace all the pandemic control policies, right? And there's a whole bunch of reasons around that. Like the new variants coming out, the virus mutates very quickly. And so it's, when you vaccinate people also tend to get complacent. Like they forgot this is a 2-dose. They receive 1 dose and after that they go party. I think we have that case of influencer doing that. So it was, so I tried to build this sort of like try to put the message out there that you cannot leave the health protocols, and you cannot also leave out the test, trace, and the testing and tracing regime. You have to keep beefing that up, right? Just because we have vaccination, we shouldn't stop trying to find cases, right? And because that's the main component of controlling. So that's the first article. And then the second one is government start saying, we have a lot of vaccinators. We can do this in 15 months. And president even said we can do this in 1 year, right? Then I start checking the numbers. I start doing just simple calculations, simple arithmetic. And I look, and basically it's probably not true. Like we should have realistic expectation that this vaccination cannot be as fast as we would like it to be. And we have to be prepared for that, right? Like what is the strategy? Because nobody knows how long the antibody lasts from a vaccine. So what will happen if the antibody already wanes and we still haven't finished? We still haven't covered all the herd immunity required. So should we do a revaccination? Should we do a booster? And besides, I try to look even deeper on the provincial level, right? I mean, the healthcare capacity of each provinces are very different, right? And WHO already warned that if you don't have equal speed, or if everybody doesn't finish at the same time on the vaccination, this thing would just keep moving from country to country. Same with Indonesia, like in my calculation in the second article, if you look at it, Jakarta and Jawa Barat and West Java, which is neighbors, might have a gap of 2 years in completing their vaccination if nothing changed, right? If nothing changed, everything stays the same. So Jawa Barat and Jakarta is a very closely related neighbors, right? I mean, people in West Java work in Jakarta, people in Jakarta work in West Java, they travel, they shop at each places. So you cannot stop the virus from hitchhiking this mobility, right? So, and we're only targeting 70% for the free vaccination campaign. So there's this 30% that's not vaccinated. So if this mobility keeps going, the 30% will be at risk. And with the new variants also, even the 70% that's been vaccinated will be at risk. So speed and equity have to go hand in hand in this case. So that's my second research. And the middle part is actually just my comments on vaksin gotong royong, which was podcast by the conversation. So if you're interested about vaksin gotong royong, maybe you can have a look on that or have a hear on that as well. So that's a little bit about my vaccine research, and I'm looking into doing more on the sort of increasing the how to involve the private sector more to speed up this vaccination drive. And so that's my next sort of research agenda,
right.
Basically.
Just for the benefit of our audience, Andree, can you explain what is vaksin gotong royong, what is vaksin mandiri, what is?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in Indonesia, we have a vaccination is free. The government has declared that the government is providing free vaccine for 70% of the population, right? But now they're opening another site or another program, and that is called the vaksin gotong royong. It used to be called vaksin mandiri, which is independent vaccination, but they've since scrapped that term and changed it to vaksin gotong royong. So, working together vaccine. And this is a corporate base, which means that it can only be done by companies, and it's to be given free to their employees and the employee's family, right? At the moment, the model is, if I may say, for lack of a better word, is a bit restrictive. Like the sourcing of the vaccine is still done by state-owned enterprise, Bio Farma, at this stage, which is also handling the government's sourcing of vaccine, right? So this is one-door sourcing. So they contact the supplier, they get it in, they distribute it, Bio Farma distribute it to the companies. So the companies are only administering it on site. And the companies can engage a private hospital or private healthcare facilities to do it. So it's corporate based, and my opinion is that it's good. Like the idea of involving private to speed up is good, but the range, the coverage is still very limited because it's corporate based. And as we know, Indonesia has a lot of informal workers, right? So if it's corporate based, you're only reaching the formal workers. And at the moment, I think the registration is about 7.5 million people. So that's about 4% of the target 181 million. So it's good. As I say, the spirit is good, but we need to increase this even more. And that's what I'm interested in, how to start. This is a good small start. Let's make it bigger.
Thank you, Andree. That's very interesting. We still have about 10-15 minutes. If we have questions, I don't see anyone raising hands.
Actually, can I?
Oh, yes, Mbak Dian.
Well,
yes.
there are a few things that for the vaccine adoption, there are six, I call that is 6A framework. First is the availability of the vaccine. So vaccine is approved. We know that some people are approved and a few months back, some people actually, a few community, there was some skepticism, and not only just availability, but skepticism about the vaccine itself. So availability is quite a challenge at the moment. Right now, I'm not able to get the vaccine because of I have to wait until another about 6 weeks to get the vaccine because the vaccine is run off at the moment. And the second one is administrable. So the individual or the people need to get the vaccine at the convenience location. So that is really important, because as you see that geographically Indonesia is actually, some people live in a remote area. So so we have the government need to put the strategies how they can vaccine them when they feel comfortable and also safe for them. And the other thing is also accessible. The access for vaccine is not everyone get the vaccine. Probably people in Jakarta much more easier to get the access for vaccine. I got phone calls actually 2 days ago from Pasuruan for Mbak Nur Sahbani Kacasungkanas. You know, that's well known as human rights defenders. She lives in a small town in East Java. She wanted to get vaccine, but the vaccine actually not available at the moment. So I had to contact the mayor, and the mayor said, well, unfortunately, we haven't received one single vaccine here. So I have to contact the vice governor of East Java. So Mbak Nur could get the vaccine for elderly. So she need to wait. So the access is not everyone get the access. The fourth thing is the acceptable. So this is one of the strategy need to be developed and executed, how we can fill the gap of education about COVID and about vaccines, so the people can get information that they can trust, but also they are well informed to make a decision whether to be vaccinated or not. So that is very important. So the tool has to be the right, and also the stakeholder need to get more understanding, all to get a well information about the vaccine as well. And also about affordable, as Andree already mentioned about the gotong royong vaccine. So some people are worried, they wanted to get a vaccine, but they are worried they need to, they have to pay, given that right now not everyone in a good position economically right now. Some of them already laid off, but they want to be safe as well. So funding and also reimbursement strategy for people, for staff when the company put the policy for vaccine mandate. And the other thing is also accountable. So patient need to get all treatment, like first vaccine, also second vaccine, and also the post outcome after they need to get monitoring for that. So I'm not sure whether that strategy they already put the planning for that one, because they need to put also IT infrastructure and also ongoing monitoring and reporting. That's really important for the next policy when the government need to put policy in place. So there's 6A that need to be adopted: availability, administrability, where when the people feel really convenient and comfortable to receive the vaccine, access, acceptable, affordable, and accountable.
Well, thank you so much, Mbak Dian, and also Andree. As I said, this is the first time we actually have this conversation with person who actually contracted the virus after so many webinars in this series. And also, thank you again for sharing your stories. And this sounded like prelude to our next Indonesia Update conference, actually in September, October, for which I would like to invite Nuke to tell us about the upcoming Indonesia Update, and also what's our seminar next week. Thank you.
Hi, Acho. Thank you. Yes, actually, this topic is, as Acho said, is a very good start to introducing about our next Indonesia Update. The title for the 2021 Indonesia Update is "In Sickness and in Health: Diagnosing Indonesia. This will be convened by Ariana Utomo from Melbourne University and Firman Witular from ANU, and they will talk about, will examine areas to extent which Indonesia's health system has succeeded in dealing with the many challenges it faces, and more importantly, what Indonesia needs to do to ensure faster progress. I will also talk about next week's webinar. We will have, the title for next week's webinar is FinTech, Social Entrepreneurs and the Pandemic. We will invite FinTech and social and startup entrepreneurs to talk about how they navigate this new environment during the pandemic. We invite Sarah Dewanto from Duit HP, Leonardo Camilius from Koperasi Kasih Indonesia, and Amiruddin from Investry. And
I understand there is a time adjustment from Australia side.
Yes, thank you. For the our Indonesian participants, we will start at 10 a.m. instead of the usual 9 a.m. because of the difference. We go back to daylight, the non-daylight saving now by then. Thank you. Yes, thank you for the presenters and thank you for all participants.
Thank you again, Dian, Andree. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Stay healthy.